in today's session, we will see few examples of the theoretical concept which we have already learned. So if you remember, in the last session, we have seen the example of two-dimensional array, and there we have learned how we can use the array for the matrix multiplication operation. Okay, so we will continue with that, and then again we will see a few examples. So in last session we have seen this is the example which we have covered in the last session, and there we have created three matrices, and we have multiplied the element of matrix A and matrix B to the matrix C. Okay, so we have seen that if the size of the matrix, both the matrix is equal, that is their row and columns are equal. So this was the values which we have feeded in our matrix, and we got this kind of value. Then we were also trying to get the matrix with the different type of values. So that we will see today, and then we will move on to our next example. So if you have remember that we have created two matrices A, and whose size we have defined as M and N, and another matrix B whose size we want to use it as Q and P. Okay, this means that both the matrix may either have same number of rows and columns, or they can have different number of rows and columns, that is M by N matrix. Okay, so although we have used different alphabets here, but it is this similar to M into N matrix, that is the matrix may be having different number of rows and column. And we have seen the example where our M was equal to N, that was equal to 2, and Q equal to P equal to 2. This was the example which we have seen. Okay, this was and we have seen that our matrix was working fine. Then we tried to execute the example of the matrix with different number of rows and column. So remember, there was one condition in the matrix, and that is the column number which, or the column size which we have specified for the matrix, for the first matrix, should be equal to the row size of the second matrix. Then only the multiplication is possible. Otherwise we cannot multiply the matrix. Okay, so this condition we have already implemented in our code, and we have also seen, we have also dry run our code, and we have seen that it was working fine. So I just made a little change, and because it was not working earlier, it was not working fine for the different number of rows and columns. So I have just made one change, and that is here instead of P you have to use Q. Okay, so here instead of P you have to use Q, and instead of Q you have to use P. Okay, this is the only change you have to make, otherwise our logic is fine. So it wasn't giving any problem since we had the same number of rows and column. Okay, so this is the little change that you have to make. So now we will try to execute our code, and let's see whether the code works fine for the matrix with the different number of rows and columns. And what we are going to do here is we are going to create a matrix which has the first matrix. We are going to define the first matrix, which will have uh, the row as m as 1 and column size as 3. Let's say, let's assume this. You can try with any of the sizes. So I will be giving you an implementation using this size. Okay, so it means the first matrix which I am going to create is 1 into 1 by 3, 1 row and 3 columns. And the second matrix we are going to have is, remember that in the second matrix you must have the same number of row size as the column size of the first matrix. So that is why we have to use the number of row or the row size as 3, and column size you can take any. So I will be taking this as 3 by 2. So first matrix will be having size 1 into 3 and second matrix will be having size 3 into 2. So let's first execute the code, then we will see, we will understand the output. Okay, so I'm just going to first build the project. Okay, so it's already built, so just execute. Okay, so it is asking for the row size and column size of matrix 1. So row size, remember, I want to give as 1 and the column size as 3. Now I need to input 3 elements for the matrix. Since there is 1 row, so we can put only 3 elements. 1 into 3 is equal to 3. So we are going to put the element as 2, 3 and 4. Okay, any element you can give. Now it will ask to input the row size and column size of matrix B. So we will be creating the matrix as 3 by 2. So 3 into 2. So now we have to put 6 element because 3 into 2 is 6, and since it has 2 column but 3 rows, so you can also count as when you count, so you will see the element are 6. So the element which we are going to put is 1 and 2 in the first row, 3 and 4 in the second row, 5 and 6 in the last row. So the output you get is 31 into 40. Remember that we have the matrix of 1 into 3 and 3 into 2, but the matrix which we got is 1 by 2 matrix as the output. That is the outcome of the multiplication of these two matrices. So how we get this? So whenever we multiply two matrix, so the resultant matrix will have the row number, the row size of the first matrix and in the column size of the second matrix. So resultant matrix will always be based on the row size of the first matrix and column size of the second matrix. Okay, so that is why in our program also, when we are trying to print the matrix, here when we are trying to print the matrix, so we have taken the upper bound for the row size as m and upper bound for the column size as q, as you can see here. Okay, that is the upper bound of row size as m and upper bound of column size as p. Okay, so the output which we have uh, the output which we have received is, so let's first see how does this work. So we have created 1 by 3 matrix. Okay, so here you have the input element which we have input is 2, 3 and 4, and in the next the second matrix which we have created is, in that we have the element it is the 3 by 2. So the element which we have inputted as 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. So the resultant matrix will be having element. So when we multiply the element, okay, so when we multiply the element, uh, 2 will be multiplied with 1, 2 into 1 plus 3 into 3 will be multiplied with this 3. So 3 into 3, and then 4 will be multiplied with 5. 4 into 5. Okay, so this is for the first row, first column, and then again this has to be multiplied. Okay, so 2 will be multiplied with 2. So 2 into 2 plus 3 will be multiplied with 4. So 3 into 4 plus 4 will be multiplied with 6. 4 into 6. Okay, so 2 into 1 we know that it is 2, and this will be plus 9, and this will be plus 20. And for the second column, 2 by 2 is 4, and this is 12, and this is 24. So when you add this, so you will get as 31 and 40. So this is the same output which we got. Okay, so here it is the same output, 31 and 40. Okay, so okay, so here I made a little mistake in the diagram. So it is not Q by P, it is actually P into Q. Okay, so the resultant matrix will have size, the row size as the upper bound of the first matrix and the Q. Okay, hence in the last loop we have used M and Q. Okay, this is the row size of the first matrix, and this is the column size of the second matrix. Because if you see in the loop here, P and Q is the upper bound of the P is the upper bound of row and Q is the upper bound of column. So this is how we can use the two-dimensional array in different operations, such as one of the very good operation that is known as the matrix, and matrix operations which could be implemented using the uh, using the arrays, two-dimensional array are very important, because even in the modern day when we learn about the artificial intelligence or deep learning algorithms such as convolutional neural network and image processing, different kind of those algorithm which uses that, so they uses a heavy use of two-dimensional array, because image can be represented as the array, and different operation can be implemented using these kind of matrix operations. So behind the algorithm, such as for convolutional neural network and other algorithm, they make heavy uses of matrix operations. So that is why you must have a very good understanding of the two-dimensional array and as well as the different matrix operation which you can perform. So this is just one of the example which I have shown you here. Okay, so now we are going to move forward for our next example, and first let me see if this virtual environment is open. And next example which we are going to see is uh, the string example, how we can use the string, and string also can be implemented using the array. It's not working, so maybe I think we can continue with this. Okay, so as we have already discussed in our theory sessions, that whenever we want to define a string, so we can define string in two ways. Okay, so that is with the help of array and with the help of pointer. So first we are going to see how we can use the array to create string. So a string can be created using a single dimensional array or 1D array. So we can define array of character and give it a size, then this is the array of character, but it is also called as the string. So here we have a string which can store 10 characters. So what is a string? String is basically, we can define string as the collection of characters or sequence of characters. That is known as the string. So here finally, because in our character array we are going to store the character, so that hence it is also called a string. Okay, so first we will see how we can create a string, and then we can perform some operations. Okay, so I am going to define a string as array of character char, and my string, let's say name, with the 20 letters, 20 characters. Okay, then I can input the values in this, so you can directly define the values as we have already covered this in the theoretical session. So you can refer to those example also, but here I am going to show you how you can get the string from the user. Def enter name. So we will ask user to input his name. Just let me set the buffer that we can get the proper output. So after this we can use the scanf function. So you can write scanf and then %s and name. Okay, so remember here we do not have to use the ampersand operator, since here it is the array, and whenever we write name of the array, then it is equivalent to the address of the first element of the array. So that is why we do not have to use the ampersand operator. Okay, then we can directly print this, print f, and welcome message, welcome %s. And then name. So let me save this and compile. Okay, some memory error is there, so let me close it first. So the project has been built. Now we execute this. It's asking for name, so you can write any name and you will get the message. Okay, so here in this program we have used the scanf function, but so instead of scanf function there is other function also given here that also you can use, and that is especially uh, it is it could work more efficient than the scanf. That function is f get s, especially when working with the string. So you can use this function as well, and you can use get s function as well. So get as function we have already seen. So I'm just going to, I just wanted to give you one more variation of the function which you can use for the string. So this function basically allow you to get the uh, entire single line. Okay, so for example, while using the scanf function, when I put a name which has the space, so only this part will be considered and the rest part is skipped by the scanf function. Okay, so to overcome such kind of problems, we can use functions such as fscanf, sorry, fgetS function, fgetS, and here you can get the whole single line that may also include the space. So, first parameter is the string where we want to store, and that is our character array. And then we have to give the, as the second parameter, we have to specify the size of our string. So this is the second parameter to the function, and the third parameter is from where we are going to get the string, and since we are getting it from the standard input device, so the third argument is stdi, and that is standard input. Okay, so this will get the whole string as you can see here. Okay, so you can use this function as well. So now we are going to see some program on the string, and in this program first we will see a very simple program. Let's say I want to find how many number of characters are there in the string. Okay, so although there is one function which we have seen in our theory sessions, and that function is strlen, and inside this function if you specify the string, then it will return you the number of character that string has. But you can also implement your own logic to get the string, to get the number of characters in the string, that is the length of the string. So here what I'm going to do is first let me specify one integer variable int I, and then I execute a loop for I is equal to we start from 0 till I is less than, no, not I, name I is not equal to the null character. So the loop will continue until the null character of the string has been reached. Then we can increment the I. And remember that I am not specifying anything to be executed inside the loop body, so I can terminate the loop here. Okay, although we are not executing anything inside as the body of the loop, but this loop still continues. Okay, this loop still executes. The only difference is that I have not specified its body. So it will be executed until the null character in the string has been found. So this is how we get the counter, and we count the number of characters, and that will be stored in the I. And then finally we can print the length of string is %d, and here I am going to print I. Okay, so you will get the character as 11. So how many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and including the null character. So the length is 11. So if you want to skip the null character, then you can also uh, print the length as I minus 1. Okay, so this is how we can implement the length of the string. Okay, so we will see some more example, and let's say this time I want to find the frequency of the particular character in a string. Okay, so let's say I want user to input a string and user inputs hello world. Then I will ask user to input a character to find its frequency. And let's say if user inputs O, then I display the output frequency of O is, and then how many times it appears in the string, is 2 times, so it will be displayed as 2. So here the frequency count program, we are going to see the frequency count program, and it will give you the count of how many times that particular character appear in a string, specified character appear in a string. So we are going to implement this code. So for this, again, we need to have a string variable, and we'll take another integer variable as uh, the output, sorry, as the for the counting, and we are going to take one more character variable in which we store the character which we match with each of the character in the array of characters. So let me first define, then I'll let you know the logic which we are going to implement here. First we write the program. So let's say the name of the character is FRCH. Okay, you can give any name, just given for the because we are counting the frequency character, I have given it as the name. So first we will ask user to enter name or enter string. Okay, and then we are going to execute the loop in the similar fashion. And here I have to specify the body of the loop. Okay, so before this, I ask user to enter input a character, to find its frequency. Okay, and then I'll ask user to input a character, so you can use the scanf function. %c, then since it is a single character, so frch, I need to specify its address. Okay, so the character will be stored in this character variable. And now inside the loop, I compare if frch equals to the name, or we can say if the input character is if input character matches the character in the string. So we are executing this loop and fetching a single character at a time from the array which we have specified here. Okay, and here if this happens, then what we are going to do is, I must have one more variable, initialize it with 0. So I will increment the count. Okay, and finally I print the message frequency of %c is %d. Then sorry, frch count. Okay, so this is it. Okay, so if you see the logic here, the logic is nothing but it is very similar to the linear search which we have seen. Okay. So we have already seen how the linear search can be performed to find any element in the array. So in that case we have used the integer array, and here we are using the character array. So this is nothing but the logic for the linear search. If the character, so inside in this what we are doing is, if the character found in the array, then we are incrementing the counter, otherwise we are not doing anything if this condition is not satisfied. So first let me build this, and then we execute. So enter a string hello world, and the character whose frequency we want to find, so that is O. So we will get the frequency of O is 2. Similarly, you can try with other string as well. So let's say welcome to C programming, and the character thing, it is not taking the larger string. Yeah, the larger string it is not taking. So for that we can implement other logic as well. So here let's say we try some other string. Then you can input any character. Let's say if I put T, so the frequency of T is 1. So this is how we can count the frequency. So what we have done here is we have specified a string by getting it from the user, the string value. So let's say if user inputs string value hello world, that, and then we are also getting the character to count such as O. So we are executing a loop. Okay, since we know that this will be stored, the hello world will be stored in an array that is named as the name. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we are executing the loop for I is equal to explain it from the code itself. So what we are doing here is suppose if the user input we are getting the value in this name. So suppose a name is our array. So user input hello world. So this will be stored in the array. Okay, and array will be having index. Okay, so this is how the array, the value will be stored in array. Then we are asking user to input another element, and that element is frequency. And here user, suppose the user will input O. So what we are doing here is name I. When the value of I is 0, it means that the character H, and that character will be matched with the character stored in FRCH, and that character is O. So O, this will give you H. So is O is equal to H? No, nothing will happen. So count will not be incremented. Then I will be incremented to 1, since we are incrementing here, because after this the loop again continues to the increment part in the for loop, and then this condition will be evaluated. So I will become 1. So what is at 1? E is here. So E is not equal to the null character. Okay. Then this condition is true, then the loop will enter and match this condition, whether if O is equal to E. No, it is not equal, so nothing will happen. It means that count will not be incremented. Then I will again become 2. Then name I will point to this location. Again O and L will not be matched. Then I will be incremented. It will point this position. Then again O and L will not match. Then I will increment to 4 and name I will point to this location, and O will match. Okay, so because now this condition becomes true, so count will be incremented with 1. Similarly, the blank will not be matched, W will also not be matched. Again, O will be matched with the this frequency character. So again, count will be incremented. Earlier it was 1, now count will be incremented to 2. So this is how at last we will get the frequency of character O is 2. This is how this array works. Now the next example which we are going to look is of the two-dimensional array, and that is also known as the array of string. Two-dimensional array of characters. Okay, so remember that whenever we want to create a string, so we define the array of character of single dimension. So this will create the string of 10 characters. Okay, it means we can only in this we can only store one string. Okay, we can only store one string. So the question is, now I want to store multiple string. So now how I can store that? So single string here means, suppose if I want to store the name of city, then at a time I can only store name of one city. Let's say I want to store name of multiple cities. So how I could do that? And that is by specifying the two-dimensional array of characters. How I can do that? Char str, and let's say the maximum character means this. Okay, the number of characters I want to store a maximum are 10. Okay, so it means my string or my name of city could have maximum 10 characters, and such I want to create 5 string. So here I need to specify the row and the column size. So row size always specify the total number of strings. This row size means the total number of strings, and here this 10 specifies the length of a single, or you can say that length of a length of each string. Length of each string. So this is how we can create. So I'm going to modify this code, and I want to store the name of more than one cities. So I name the variable as city, name of 5 city, and the character, total number of character in each city. So one counter variable I. Okay, so I just first I print the message to user. Maybe I can, okay, I can put it inside the loop. So I execute a loop for I is equal to 0 till I is less than 5. I is less than 5, and then I plus plus. So now I'm going to specify the body of the loop. And that is printf enter name of %d, or I can say that name of city %d, and here I print I plus 1. Then scanf %s and name, sorry, city, and the subscript. Okay, so this will input name of 5 cities, but because the loop is going to execute 5 times, and then we can print in the same way. So here just directly print the names of all the cities %s and city I. So first I build this project, and now we try to execute it. So enter the name of first city, Delhi, name of second city, Mumbai, name of third city, Kolkata, and name of fourth city, and name of the fifth city. So you will get all the cities printed. Okay, so in the same sequence in which I have input the value. Okay, now, so this is the simple program which illustrate how you can input the names of the cities, get the names of the city, or get 5 string and print them. Okay, but let's say the output which I got here is not properly arranged. Now I want to arrange these names of cities which I have input from the user in a particular order, let's say in chronological order, or in other words you can say that lexicographical order. So lexicographical order is the order which is used in the dictionaries to organize the words. So let's say I wanted to uh, arrange this output in that particular order. Okay, so we are going to do that, and for that we need to implement the logic. So we are going to implement the logic between the input and the output. Okay, so this first loop is for in the input. And this one is for the output. So here now between this I'm going to implement the logic. So the logic is to sort. Sort strings. Okay, so for this we need to have two variables for the loop, since we will be using nested looping statement. And if you have remember, I have already explained you all that you have to have a very good practice and understanding of nested looping statements, because in almost every behind every complex logic there are working of such kind of looping statements. So just if you are not still having a good understanding of the nested looping statement, and try to print different types of patterns which I have already explained you, try practicing those kind of patterns, so you will get a very good understanding of how you can do that. First loop is going to execute from I is equal to 0 till I is less than 5, and then I plus plus. This is my first loop. Okay, and inside this another loop for j is equal to 0, and j we are going to execute this loop. Okay, j is like it will also continue from j is equal to 5, and then j plus plus. Okay, so but we must start this loop not from the 0 but from the second location, or the location next to the location pointed by the outer loop. So I use it as I plus 1. Okay, so I'm going to explain you what is this all about. And inside this, if you remember, we have already seen how to sort the list of numbers. It's the similar logic we are going to do that, and that we have used the concept of swapping. So here we are also going to use the swapping, but for that we need to have some string function, because we can, in C programming, we cannot directly assign one string to other string. Okay, for example, as we have already covered this in the theory session, let's say if I want to store any character after declaration takes place. If I want to store anything inside a string variable, so you cannot do this in the C. Neither you can assign the one string variable to another string variable. This will also give an error. So for this we need to have, or we need to use the string operators, sorry, string functions, and those are found in the string.h header file. Okay, so here we are going to swap the strings. So first we compare. So here I am going to compare if, for comparison, we have one function strcmp. So here I'm going to compare the the two string. So we now we have only one string, okay, one string of array. So how we can compare two string? That is by their location, by using their location. So string I, this is the first string that at the beginning, this will be the first string in the array, and city j, this will be the second string in the array, and likewise the indexes will be incremented. Okay, if their comparison is greater than 0. Okay, so if you remember, we have learned the string operator in our theory session, and we have seen that the string function in our theory session, and we have seen that the strcmp function returns 3 values, and those values are when the first string is greater than the second string, then the output is the positive value. So we have seen that if let's say there are two string str1 and str2. So if the first string is equal to second string, then the value which is returned by strcmp is 0. If str1 is less than str2, then the value which is returned by strcmp function is negative. And if str1 is greater than str2, then the value returned by strcmp function is positive. Okay, this we have already learned. So here we need to find if the first string is greater than the second string. So the value must be positive. So that is why we have used the condition as greater than 0. If it is greater, then we have to move the smaller string at the first position and the greater string at the second position. Okay, so remember what we are doing here is, if the string at the first position is greater than the string at the second position, so we want to move this string which is at the smaller position, which is the smaller, at the first position. Okay, so we can do that by swapping. Okay, so how we can swap? So for this I need one more variable. I take it as temp. So because I need only single string, so I have the only one subscript and whose length is similar to all these strings in this string of array. So here then I call it strcpy string copy. So what I'm going to do is in the first position, that is that is city I. So city I indicates first string at the first position and city j indicates string at the second position. So if the so I am going to copy the second string at the second position at the string at the first position. So before that we need to store this string into the some temporary variable so that we can later on we can use this. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the string which is as at the first position to a temporary variable. Then I'm modifying the string at the first position by the string at the second position, and then finally I'm going to update the string at the second position with the string which we have stored in the temporary variable. Okay, so this is it. This is our logic, and after doing this we can now finally print the sorted string. So now first I am going to compile this, build the project. Okay, so the project has been built, and first we execute, enter the name of city 1. So first city is Jaipur, then we store at Mumbai, and then Ajmer, Kolkata, okay, so you can see the string arranged in the sorted order. Okay, so this is how we can perform the string sorting. So I have used only 5 string. You can have more than 5 string just by incrementing this size and modifying the loops upper bound. Okay, so now we are going to understand the logic behind this. Okay, so the logic is fairly simple. I have stored the 5 cities in the 2-dimensional array. So how we have our array? Okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. 5 string. So first we have Jaipur, okay, so this is our first string, and then we have Mumbai, sorry, and then we have Ajmer, and then Kolkata, and then we have Agra. Okay, so this is how all these strings are stored. This is our array. Okay, and so on. So I'm not going to write the null character, etc. So remember that for accessing the string, let's say if I have a string, then I also have a template. This is the city array. Then I also have a temporary array. So if I specify the string with number of characters and I simply use this temp, it means the whole number of characters. Okay, so similar thing is used here. Only we need to distinguish the different uh, strings. So we can do that by using the row number of the array. Okay, so city 0 means this whole string, city 1 means this whole string, city 2 means this whole string, city 3 means this whole string, and city 4 means this whole string. And if I use such as city 0 and 1, it means only the single character, that is J. Okay, so in order to access the whole string, I skip using this subscript. So this is how the string array works. So what we have done here is inside this loop. So first I am starting the loop with I is equal to 0. So at the beginning, I will point to this location. Okay, in the beginning, I will point to this location, and I am going to start J with I plus 1. So 0 plus 1 is 1. So J will point to this location. Okay, this is the J which is pointing to this location, and I is pointing to this location. So it means, so city I means the city Jaipur, and city J means city Mumbai. Okay, so first we compare Jaipur with Mumbai. Okay, so is Jaipur with Mumbai greater? So we know that it is not greater. So nothing will happen. Then J will be incremented. Okay, this J will be incremented. And after J is incremented, now J will point to this location, and that is, it will give us the city Ajmer. Okay, so city Ajmer. So Jaipur is greater than Ajmer, yes, because J is greater than the first, only the first character is greater. Okay, so although it will match the values by calculating the values of all the characters, so this will be greater. So what we are going to do is, we are first going to store the Jaipur in the temporary array. Okay, and then copying the uh, value which is at city J, and at city J the value is Ajmer. So what we are doing is, we are storing the Ajmer at the city I, that is in place of Jaipur. So here Ajmer will be copied, and then what we are doing is, we are copying the value at the temporary string at the jth location in the array of string. So Jaipur will be stored in place of Ajmer. So this will become Jaipur. So now our new array is Ajmer, Mumbai, Jaipur, Kolkata, Agra. It means that city at the next iteration, the city will be pointing towards the value Ajmer, and it will compare the Ajmer with all other values. So let's say, for example, after this swapping, the j again will be incremented and j will now become 3. 3 means Kolkata. So at city I, what we have? Ajmer, and at city 3 what we have? Kolkata. So now it will match the Ajmer with the Kolkata. So nothing will happen because we already know that the Ajmer is smaller than the Kolkata. So in the similar way, J completes its execution and then I will again start. So these comparison will continues until the whole array is sorted. So this is how the sorting works. So this is all about today's session. In the next session, we will see few examples of pointers. And if you have any question regarding today's session, so you may please ask. Please raise hand if you have any question. Okay, Lakshmi Kant, just a minute. Yes, you can unmute and ask the question.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Uh, Sir, I have a doubt. Like
Yes.
in somewhere you used plus plus I, and in some cases it's I plus plus. Can you just tell me what's the
Yes, yes,
difference?
yes, sure, sure. So when we have learned, although you can use plus plus and plus plus in the prefix or the postfix form of the plus plus in the looping statement. So usually not much changes will be there. The loop will execute as it is. You can use any of the form. But these are basically two forms provided us by C programming, and these are known as the prefix and the postfix forms of the increment and the decrement operator. So usually what happens whenever we use prefix plus plus I, so the value of the I is first incremented, then I will be used in the operation. Whereas whenever we use I plus plus, so here first the value of I will be used and then its value will be incremented. So inside in this looping statement, not you cannot see much changes. I mean you cannot see any effect, but if you use them in other programs, I mean if individually if you try to use them, so let's say I remove this. Okay, let's say I have I and I initialize it with the value I is equal to any value 10, and I'm going to use j as well and any value to 10. Just try to print the value of I is equal to %t and j is equal to %t, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to print plus plus I and j plus plus. Okay, so here you can see I will be incremented to 11 since we have used the prefix form. So it will first increment then print, and here it will first print the value of j then increment it. Okay, so that is why we only have 20. But after this statement, if you again try to print j and I, only the j, we are going to print, okay, we are going to print both the value without performing any increment operation. Okay, so you can see now j is 21, although we haven't incremented it, but you have got the value of j. Let me print it in the different lines. Okay, so first what I have done is, first here in the first line the value of I will be incremented, and then the value of I will be used here in the operation. So that is why we got the value of I as 11. Then j, here j, the value of j will be first printed or first used in this operation, and then it will be incremented. That is why we have the initial value of j, although after the print operation has been done, we have the updated value of j, which we can see in the next statement. So these are the increment, the postfix and the prefix form which you can use. And in looping statements, because the loop always completes its execution, and that is why we do not see any much differences even when we use the postfix form or the prefix form.
Thank you, sir. I understand it.
Okay,
I got it.
okay, welcome. Rakshit. Yes, you can please ask. I have unmute. You can unmute and ask question.
Hi, sir.
Hello.
Hello, I'm audible, sir, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I have a doubt, sir, regarding that set buffer. Can you let me know why you have used that set buffer? Because I have
Okay.
joined late in the class.
Okay. So I think in the previous session also I have explained. So here the set buffer is the function which is used. So set buffer, basically what the set buffer function does is it clears out the output stream before executing the program. So that is how I have used it in the beginning of the window, because here the Eclipse IDE is basically, it is not made for the console based application. We are executing the Windows on the Windows environment, and basically here we are writing the programs which could be executed at the console based. So that is why, in order to get the proper output here, it means that if we are trying to print any message to user, such as printf enter a number, and then we are accepting the number. So if we do not use this set buffer function, so that message could not be displayed due to some uh, the buffer is or maybe it may be occupied by some other programs or anything else. So that is why we have to first clear, or and then we can execute the program so that we can get the proper output. So in order to clear the buffer, the output buffer, so that we can allow our program to modify that output buffer,
Oh,
which
okay,
is
sir.
printing the value. For that purpose, we have used this set buffer function. So actually, whenever we execute our C program, so C program opens up the streams. Okay, three streams every C programs opens by default. Okay, so let's say this is our C program. So it opens three streams, that is standard input stream, we also call it std in, and the standard output stream, as well as the standard error stream. So basically whatever the error we get while executing the program are displayed to us because of the standard error stream. So standard error stream are and the standard output stream are both the output stream. both are used for the output purpose, whereas the standard input stream is used for the input purpose. So why these streams are required? So first let me explain you what the stream is. Stream is nothing but it is a uh, uh, collection of bytes or collection of characters. Okay, so usually our program uses the byte stream because we are transferring the bit from the input devices to the output device, and you can also consider it as the buffer. So buffer is nothing but the memory area which is presently being used by the program. So this is actually forms a channel, okay, a channel from which input and output flows from and into the program. So whenever we are supplying input to our program from the standard input device such as keyboard, so the hardware devices logically uses these streams, or our program uses these stream to get input from those devices, and whenever we are transferring the output from our program and want to display on the standard output device, then the program uses the standard output stream. So in order to get the proper output, it may be there may be possible that although this stream is allocated for our program, but it may contain some garbage value. Due to that, our program may not properly display the output, which usually happen whenever we try to write console based program in the Windows based application such as Eclipse. So for that we need to first clear this to make it available for the program, so that our output could properly flow and we could be able to display the proper output on the screen, right?
Okay, sir.
Okay.
And this is in we can use in Eclipse only, right? In
Yeah,
virtual we don't
yeah,
need.
usually, yeah, it is the issue with the Eclipse ID, so we have to use it.
Okay, sir, I got it. Thank you so much for the.
Okay. uh, yes, Raju, you can please ask, unmute yourself and ask.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, sir, what is the limitation in reading the character of fget s function?
Limitation.
Yes.
Limitation is not the character, but I think it when you have more than one spaces, then it could cause some problem. So although we can overcome that, we can implement our own logic and we can read the number of lines.
Okay, sir.
Although I have not tried it on other editors, you can try in other editor as well. So you can see that. But as in the case of the Eclipse ID where I am using it, if you have noticed that for the single space between the two characters, it is working fine. But if I provided the third space, then it is causing some issue.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, sir. Thanks.
Yeah. But you can try in other editor as well. And
Okay.
otherwise there are other logic also which we can use, and even we can continue reading the characters or the string until user wants to terminate. So we can
Uh,
implement that logic also. Maybe I can explain you in the next session.
okay. Okay. Sir, one more thing. So, in doing this practical labs in Eclipse, can
Yeah.
we try in our learning portal? So
Yes,
it will
yes,
be
sure,
better
you
for
can
us
try.
in,
No,
for
no issues,
example,
you
sir.
can try. Actually, yeah, actually I wanted to show there, but I don't know, since last session it is not working for me, so maybe I need to find out. I hope you all would be able to access it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
So I will check on my side why it is not working. So you can, the same program, there is no issues because here also and in the virtual environment also we are using the GCC compiler, so no issues. The same code will work without any change. Only
Okay,
you
sir.
can remove this function. That's
Okay,
it.
sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. If there are no other question, then we can end the session.
Okay, sir. Kamlesh sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Wonderful classes for your side. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
You can
And
leave.
have a nice
Okay, sir.
day, all of you. Have a nice day.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I will be disconnect for your session. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Bye bye.